John would inch us into playing. Lee's played on all of his records because they're best bros. But we did like a Christmas record, and John would use it. We did a cover record during the pandemic where he was like, let's just get in my garage, my barn, and make an album of covers. We did some Tom Petty and some, like we did, and we played that, and he enjoyed the process. He was like, I want to make a band record. And I remember, I don't know if I had a part of, I think I had a part in it to at least to the degree where we were sitting at the bar. We carried a bar with us on the road, and they set it up every day. And John and I were sitting there last year, and we were talking about recording, and I was like, man, I'm not trying to talk you into anything, but all your favorite, if you made a list of your 20 favorite songs, not a damn one of them was made the way Nashville is making records right now. Not one. Not one of your favorite albums was made with like guys showing up at 10, blasting out 6 songs by 2, taking a lunch break, doing 6 more and being done by the end of the day. Right. Having just heard the song once and charted it and played it twice and gotten out. They were all done with the guys drinking, eating, partying, fighting, getting into arguments, working their way through it, creating these music over the course of a month in a studio and then tracking it. And he ultimately was like, he wanted to do that. And he got it with this producer, Jay Joyce, who's my favorite experience ever. And Jay was like, we're using the band. So that album came out the day after my birthday last week.
Wow, really?
Yeah. Just came out. And it's already got a few 100,000 streams, and it's doing great.
You want to plug that, like so people could
well, sure. It's called Honkytonk Hollywood. It's just it's John's newest, I think it's his 5th record. It's the first one that the band has done.
Yeah.
Like I say, the bass player is on all of them. But the band, we weren't on part of recording the rest of them. Right. And I'm really proud of it, man. I got to be honest. Up until this record, I think Earth to Andy's album we did out in LA was kind of like my apex experience. I think my best playing was probably on the Jimmy's Chicken Shack record, because I got after that. I played some shit on that record.
You did. I was like, all right. I see you, Kevin. I see you.
Good job. But I really enjoyed this. Jay and I were like, we got to the end of it. And he was like, listen, man, people are going to listen to this record. The drummers that are going to hear this record, you're going to be able to separate the ones who know what the fuck real drumming is and the ones that don't. You're going to separate them by their reaction to your work on this record. Because, man, there's some one headlight shit on this where I don't hit a cymbal. There's some stuff where there's some very particular stuff where I was like, a lot of people go, you got to serve the song, and they're full of shit. They don't know what they're just like, they can't play more. But this was an exercise in restraint, because there were at all times, there were 8 or 9 players playing. Several guitars, acoustic, electric, a steel, a fiddle, a keyboard player, a different keyboard patch, loops, background vocal. There's all this stuff happening, and the way Jay produces it, it's all very counterpunctual, where things are popping in and out. And if your drums are, all due respect to, if you're playing, like the way you perceive Eric Moore, like a lot of notes or whatever, as cool as that may be for certain things, if you do that on this, it doesn't work. Even he or Jojo Mayer or somebody with these incredible chops, Thomas Lang. If you got any of those guys, if you walked to Pridgeon or you walked anybody into the room with like, listen to this music, everyone would have to go, you'd have to just do it with restraint, or you ruin it.
Yeah. Wow.
So it's one of these records where I pay homage to drummers here and there. I give a little shout out to Matt Chamberlain. I give a shout out to Mick Fleetwood. I give a little fills throughout the record, or little Easter eggs for drummers to find. Like, there's the Chamberlain. There's the, I get a little tasty bits in it, but as a general rule, it was an exercise in restraint. And
wow, man,
I sorry I rambled, but like,
no, you're good, dude.
But that's the arc, right? Like, you and I knew each other in DC, and I was like, man, it was really just, I would have been in LA, but I had a daughter, and all my friends are in LA. I'm friends with the DeLeo brothers still. Like, I'm friends with Sutter and Ilic and Mario Caliri. I'm friends with, I got a big posse out there. I would have been fine.
Right.
But I had a daughter, and at the time Maddie was when I came down here, shit, she was 9 or no, she was like 11,
Yeah.
12 when I started working. And by the time I moved down here full time, she was in high school. And I was like, man, thank God I'm not in LA. I wouldn't know my daughter now.
Yeah, you wouldn't. You
And
wouldn't.
now she and I are incredibly close.
I,
We
I
talk,
I see that.
yeah, we talk daily. Um, you know, and I wouldn't have that had I chosen a different town than Nashville. So even though sometimes I'm like, man, country music drummers aren't really respected outside of our city.
Right.
And I get that. I talk to people from LA and they're like, man, that guy's a chump. This clown playing stadiums, or this dude doing that, or you know, they don't have kind words for the drumming community of Nashville. And I get that some of the people they see
Right.
aren't like impressing them in whatever way they need to be impressed. And I get that. But like there are times when I'm playing, I'm like, man, nobody respects me or us outside of Nashville. Like, and I'm bummed. But then I go like, but me and Maddie are really good friends.
Right.
And I have a house that it's not a great house. It's a little rancher, but
Yeah.
I have an acre of land.
Dude.
And I'm in a quiet neighborhood, and it would cost me $2.5 million if I were in Sherman Oaks.
Oh, there's no question about it. I
Yeah,
can't even do it here, man. You know, so
I have a full acre. Like my yard goes like 300 feet that way. Like
right.
it's all mine.
That's
You know,
that's awesome.
I have 3 dogs that can walk around, and my lady has our whole house is recording studio except for our bedroom.
Right.
You know, we have like a piano studio down there, and my drum studio in here, and a listening room. Like,
Dude.
I couldn't have that
Yeah.
in New York. I couldn't. I've talked to Pelton and guys like that are like, yeah, man, I had to buy the apartment next to me, knock down a wall, put in, like just to play drums quietly. Like,
Right.
I would never have what I have
Right.
if I hadn't come here.
Right.
So even though sometimes I'm like, oh, man, it's hard. It's like fighting uphill to get some respect.
Right.
And yeah, there's some songs about beer.
Right. Hey, nothing wrong with that.
Sometimes it's not real thrilling to be like, oh, a song about beer, But not all of us can play for Tori Amos or
Right.
Mars Volta or whatever.
No.
And all of those other gigs are problematic
Yeah.
in their own way.
Right.
And I actually have my gig with John isn't problematic. I love my band guys. The crew guys are great. One of my best friends is my tech.
Right.
John's a good dude. And it's easy. There's 6 buses, 8 trucks.
Damn.
I get my own condo bunk. The only people on our bus is the band. Like
Right.
no one bothers us. Sometimes we do sound check.
Yeah.
Sometimes we don't. Like and now John has gotten successful to the point where I make sure to remind myself that it's John. Like I overheard somebody that plays for a really big artist recently. I overheard a tale of him going like, well, why wouldn't we headline this big festival? And it's like, what do you mean we? Like, it does say Kevin Murphy on the ticket.
Right.
It
Yeah.
doesn't have your name on the ticket. It says the guy we work for. So John is the guy that John drives the Maybach. I have a Kia. Like it's his gig, right?
Right. Yeah.
But like, because John has achieved this, I get to play, sheds,
Right.
arenas. Like we're about to start a tour next week. We rehearse for 2 days in the arena. We're about to my rehearsal space will be 14,000 seats, like it's big. Right. So there's a trade-off. A lot of times You're like, oh man, I wish I lived in LA and did cool shit.
No,
but like,
don't.
it's not any cooler. And a lot of my friends that are in Los Angeles call me and are like, have you heard any openings?
Right.
I got friends in London. Hey man, I'm coming to town. You got any gigs for me? And it's like, man, everybody's scraping. It doesn't matter where you are.
I'm scraping now.
You got a Grammy, and you are no different than the guys that work for Taylor. Where I'm like, hey man, what's going on now? And I talked to one of them the other day. I was like, hey, let's get some coffee. And it's like, I think I'm off for a year. I don't know.
Right. Yeah.
Like she can do whatever she wants.
Yeah.
She could be like, I want to go to the moon, and somebody's going to figure out how to get her ass to the moon, right? Ice is He's a busy dude.
Yeah, no, he is, and I just finished.
You have to wait.
Yeah, right. You had to. I just finished, drum checking for Adele, and
Amazing.
And I'm just, like, I'm still scrambling right now. Like, okay, what's my next gig?
And then ISO call and be like, yo, I booked this thing in Brazil, and you'd be like, cool, let's go. But like, when you're working for an artist that is that beyond a certain level, they are so busy.
Yeah.
That it really just, you have to wait for them to want to be busy with the thing you're involved with, because they might be doing a movie, might be doing their TV show, they might be doing they're the type of people, everybody we just listed, Adele and Ice, even though he used to be like a counterculture, he came from the hardcore scene.
Yeah.
Like when it was burgeoning, he's one of the OGs. He's one of the Rushmore of, at the top end of that culture.
Right.
But then he got into TV and movies and shit like that. So now he ain't just a musician anymore.
Right.
He's like Taylor, or like, he's like, he can do what he wants. He can be like, I want to book a tour of Europe for 3 months, and you'll go to Europe, and they'll be like, we're off for 3 years. You'll be like, okay.
Right.
Anybody need me to mow their lawn?
No, you're right.
I'm the same way. And so I feel lucky. John has me on a W-2. He has me on salary.
Dude.
And I can do other sessions.
Right.
I don't tour with other people, but really it's just, I could in the winter if we were off, he wouldn't care as long as it didn't get in the way of him. So if he calls now and says, hey, everybody come to my house and do a thing, I drop what I'm doing and I go.
All right. Dude. Let's switch up for a minute.
Yeah, sorry, I rambled.
No. You're good. I
Steve's gonna be like, these fucking guys.
Hey, what's up, y'all? This is Will Dorsey Jr. Talk Music Podcast. If you like what you see, please hit that subscribe button. That little red button on there, just hit it. That will help me out tremendously. If you can also, subscribe to our YouTube channel, that will also help me. And if you wanted to download our podcast on Apple or Google or Amazon or even Spotify, you can check us out on there. Hope you guys enjoy the show.
Today's episode is brought to you by our sponsor, 𝐸 Studio, the new way musicians rehearse, record, and share their 𝐸 sessions on social media. Visit ERS on 𝐸recordstudio.com. Download this amazing app on Google and Apple Apps stores.
Visit us on www.talkmusicpodcast.com. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Download our podcast on Apple, Google, Amazon, and Spotify.